Coach, when you get back from a trip like this, how do you go about resetting and getting the team, focused for a game tomorrow?
First thing is just getting them the rest that they need. The day off afterwards was good for these guys to get reset, get around their families, just be home for a day. Today is just a get back to work day. Focus on our fundamentals, the things that we need to clean up, both sides of the ball. But then the beauty of this facility is that we can get the recovery that we need.
Paulo talked about wanting to play more consistent basketball. What needs to happen for that consistency to come?
I think for me, it really starts in the beginning of the game. Our energy level when we start the game. Those two games, they had 38 points in the first, 40 in the second. A team that we play tomorrow had 38 on us in the first quarter. So how we start the game, our mental approach has to start. That's where the consistency starts for me.
Do you see any lingering fatigue from the trip today?
Oh, no, we had a great practice. I thought it was a great practice for our guys, getting their bodies moving, being around each other again. But it was good. It was a very good practice, spirited, physical, trying to cover the things we needed to have accomplished for tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that a home game tomorrow, I mean, that's got to add a little bit of energy if there are some tired legs. You buy into that?
Our fans are the best. So, yes, that energy that happens in the Kia Center with the support that we get, that's going to be so big for us, and I think that can help out coming home from a 8-day trip, overseas and the travel. But that's not going to be an excuse. I think our guys are ready to go for tomorrow.
After a long trip, and you had the long trip before this, and at this point in the season, how much can this be an inflection point or a reset or let's reevaluate where we are type of?
Yeah, 39 left. The regular season. I think our guys need to start looking at it as one game at a time. I think the Berlin trip and the London trip were so big for just team and together aspect. I think that can go a long way. That it's a good thing for our group. What the DeVos family did for our entire organization over there was phenomenal. So you just talk about family and what that represents. I think you can build on that moving forward.
You need to string some wins together, so opportunity for a push before the All-Star break and then really get after that.
Yeah, you're completely right. And I think we focus on getting better every day, one game at a time. And, Charlotte is our next opponent, divisional opponent that we need to make sure we take care of the job at hand. And I think that's our focus. How do we keep playing our best basketball moving forward?
Kind of on that point, like this trip coming at around the midpoint of the season, you get a little bit of time off to sit back and reflect. When you look back at the first 42 games now, what stands out about this group and what does this team need to kind of focus on as you move forward into the next few games, next stretch of the season?
I'll probably echo what Paulo says, the level of consistency. How do we approach each game the same way, no matter the opponent? Focusing on the things that we need to do right, following our process each and every single game. I think the more we do that, the better we'll be, and then you won't have the ups and downs. Basketball is a game of runs and whatnot, but our ability to stay the same within that has to stay key.
This is still fairly young team. They've had the experience of the last 2 years, or a lot of the guys on the team have had the experience of the last 2 years. You have virtually the same record at this point as the last 2 years. What lessons do you learn from that, and understanding like you can still get to 47 wins, be a 5 seed, or or more compared to maybe what happened last year? How do you kind of draw from the experience of that?
Same thing. You focus on getting better, one game at a time. The seriousness and the urgency you need to play with every single game. No matter what's happening within the season, whether you got bodies in, whether you got bodies out, we've got to play the same way no matter what. And I think that's how you can gain consistency. Your mindset has to go there, and knowing the urgency you have to play with down the stretch.
How's Jalen doing? What was he able to do today?
Jalen is getting better. Today he was doing a little bit of light contact, and as you know, we just always go off of how he'll respond to what happened today, looking at him tomorrow.
When you see a slow start like Sunday, when you're looking for consistency, how do you fix that? Or is it effort? Is it intensity? Is it what is it?
Mindset. I think it's a mindset change. I mean, they were in the same place we were. They obviously Ja came back for that game, so it was a little different. But it's a mindset adjustment that you just have to say, no matter what's happening around me, no matter what is the travel circumstances, the game, we played, we didn't play, those things don't matter when your mind when your mindset's on, here's how I have to approach this game. The minutes that I'm in the game, when I step on the floor, here's how I'm going to play. And when it's the next man's turn to step in, this is how he has to play. And that's the way you got to approach it night in and night out.
How much were the injuries a hindrance to creating flow with this basketball team? And now that Franz is back, working him back into the lineup. Eventually, Jalen's going to be back in. You know, what does that do for the mindset of this team that can move closer to its potential?
Yeah, I think those are realities. I think those are realities when guys come back in and out the lineup. It changes the way you can flow, and it changes your chemistry. And I think that's one thing I've talked to the guys about, is that you've got to know that it's not going to be beautiful at first. There's going to take a moment to learn the different lineups you're playing with, who's on the floor with you. But us being through it before, how do we look back, reflect, and learn from it and say, okay, here's what we can do in this next phase, how we can play together, because we've seen these lineups now, all different combinations.
Is there, I mean, nobody's ever satisfied, but is there a degree of satisfaction that you guys are right there? You know, you're like a game out of third, despite all the injuries, and you guys have not played your best basketball because you haven't been together.
I don't know if there's a satisfaction, but there's a sense of, hey, we can control the rest of it from here on out. You know, you look at your 6th seed, and it's going to fluctuate as the season goes on, but you also have the ability to control whether you jump up to 2 or 3 or you drop down to 10. That's under our control. Now, whether shots fall or they don't fall and whatever happens within the game, we can always control our effort, our energy, our mindset, and our attitude as we approach each and every single game for this remainder of the regular season.
You know, when we talked to Mo before the trip, he said just because he's now playing games again doesn't mean his rehab, his work is done. He was a late scratch in London with the injury management. Just how is he doing and continuing to find that work back again?
Well, the great part is that he's able to communicate it. And he communicates with the performance staff, understanding what he sees, what he feels, what they feel he's able to do, and you're not going to risk it. This is a long-term thing, and we care about these guys and the remainder of their career versus just one single moment in time. And I think for him, I think it's just going to continue to be based on how he can respond. Like you said, this is part of his rehab in a lot of ways. That's why the minutes restrictions happen, to make sure we're safe moving forward.
But he's doing good now?
He's doing better now, yes. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
What was that experience like for you? Was it everything you envisioned and more?
Yeah, and more for sure. It was super fun. A really cool experience. Some Mimo and Tristan, I think, will definitely never forget. Hopefully the other guys had a lot of fun out there too. And it was a long week though, so we're definitely happy to be back here.
What's the energy like in the building? Be back home and have a couple of days off and get ready for tomorrow's game?
Yeah, just kind of regrouping, I think, after a long travel. And obviously, like I said, everybody's excited, I think, to sleep in their own bed and get to work tomorrow.
What was practice like today?
Just kind of finding back. It's more of a kind of principle day on both sides of the floor, and we'll split up the 2 groups, and got a good lift in as well.
At this point in the season, can a trip like that just reset the timeline almost, like give you a chance to reassess where this group is?
I think so. I think just having like a change of scenery like that. Obviously, a lot of guys had their families out there. I think we got a lot of time to do some stuff together with families. So I think that brought us closer, which was really cool.
For you, coming back from a long layoff, obviously it's a special moment in Berlin. What is the process like for you coming back and kind of getting in the flow of games again?
Yeah, I think just obviously getting in a rhythm, but also I think it's going to take a little bit to feel super great out there physically. Had a short timeline. Obviously, I really wanted to play at home, so I think that would be kind of part of these next couple of weeks. Getting back into a groove of things.
How did you feel? How are you feeling? Does it feel like it's coming back each day, or what's kind of?
Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect yet. Let's just leave it at that. Yeah.
We're about midway, a little bit past the midpoint of the season. Like, how would you assess where this team is at through 42 games as you look ahead to, you have this nice little break where you look ahead to the second half of the season?
I think we already went through a couple phases this year, so I think it's fair to say that we're not where we want to be as a team in terms of the standings, and that was a big part of today. Just realizing that we do have half the season left, and kind of in our control. Haven't played our best basketball, and like I said, have a lot of basketball left to prove what kind of team we are.
Do you feel like your guys' best basketball is still ahead of you?
Yeah, of course.
How much of a push is there, Franz, now to put some wins together, back-to-back wins, and finish strong before the All-Star?
Yeah, major push. I mean, call it what it is. Like I said, we're not where we want to be, and it's on everybody in the building to make sure that we finish out the season the right way. And I think hopefully the result of that is stringing some wins together in a row and finding a rhythm as a team. And I think that happens when you focus on each day at a time, get better as a team on both sides of the ball. And it's not just going to happen just because you say you want to win games. So I think that should be the focus from here on out. Regardless of how each game goes, I think bringing that right mentality to work. And like I said, I think usually that tends to work in your favor in the long run.
Each season is obviously different, but you guys have virtually the same record at this point that you had the last 2 years. How does this year feel different? Or how much does the experience of having the surge in 2 years ago, having to kind of fight your way in last year, how much does that kind of help you guys handle where you guys are at and how to push forward this year?
Yeah, it helps for sure. I think going through those experiences multiple times, hopefully the last time. Yeah, thank you guys.
Dell, as you guys get back from a long trip like that, how do you go about resetting and preparing for a game tomorrow?
I think today was a great day. We got up and down a lot, just going over concepts and things, getting the body back used to this time zone. Other than that, I think just getting your rest, proper rest, making sure you're not oversleeping or undersleeping. I think those are two of the biggest things. Just understanding that at the end of the day, it's still a business. We got a game tomorrow. We got to figure out how to get a win, string some wins together. Try to get on the right side of this track that we're on right now.
You mentioned trying to string some wins together. What's the outlook of this, the mindset of this team at this point? I guess technically right over the halfway point. We haven't lived up to the standard that we all know that we can play at, but at the same time, we're 3 or 4 games back from the second seed, so you have to take that and understand, we don't want it to come down to the last game of the season to determine it, but we do have to understand that, we had our woes throughout the season, and I think, especially now, it's definitely a time for us to try our best to steal some games. Not even necessarily steal them, but just win some games, and just move up the standings.
You guys have seen the kind of push you can make in the second half of the season. I think you guys have virtually the same record the last 2 years. Yep. Do you learn lessons from those experiences for what you can do as the calendar turns to February, March, April, and you get closer to the playoffs, or kind of what's the mindset on we've been here before, we can do this?
I think just as a team, with this being now my 8th year in the league, I know that you want to peak at the right time. You don't want to be a early season team where you start off high and then you don't sustain it, and you don't want it to be vice versa. You just want to be able to just continue to trend in the right direction, and then once you get towards the end of the season, be in a position to feel comfortable. I think the biggest thing also being healthy. Just kind of have all the pawns kind of align in the right spot going into the postseason. So that's kind of been our mindset. We like you said, we've shown that we can turn it up at the end of the season, but we also don't want that to be our trend. We just have to do a better job just in the future of just being able to stay consistent from the very first game to the 82nd game in the season, 82nd game in the season.
How tough is that? I mean, to be in a similar spot when this team had so much bigger expectations coming into this year, or is it frustrating, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's frustrating for sure. We're competitors. We know what we're capable of, but you never want to look too give too much of your attention to the past. You want to look into the future, stay in the present, control what you can control. We lost those games, we can't change it now, but we got to find ways to make sure those things don't happen again. We're going to be playing against a lot of the same teams coming up here. So a lot of teams that we're familiar with, so we just got to figure it out. That's something that's with the 12 guys that's in that locker room, or 15 guys in that locker room, we're figuring that out. The coaching staff, we come together And each and every night, we do the best we can to get that win. So we try not to live too much in the past, but understand that we definitely are not at our full potential at all.
Is there any type of silver lining you can take from all the different lineups because of injuries that you guys have had this way this year that can maybe help you down the stretch of the season?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The first two guys that come to mind is Jason, Noah. Those two guys have been phenomenal with the minutes they've been given. Two young guys that they're learning this game at a very fast pace, and they play hard. Whether they're making mistakes or making the right play, they're doing it at 100%. So I can always respect that. And I think going later on into the season, even postseason maybe, they can definitely help us. They can definitely help us be able to throw a wrinkle out there. You playing against that same teams multiple times, they're going to start to understand the diet of what you do and what you don't do. Having multiple guys that can go out there and do score points, get rebounds, whatever the case may be, is very important.
Coach talked about the start to the games, and obviously the last two games you guys didn't get off to the start. How important is it to start the game on the right foot in the first quarter and kind of set the tone for the rest of the game?
It's important. It's important. Those I think last three, honestly. Well, not last three, last two have been definitely not been to our standard, nowhere near at all. Like we've kind of regressed in a way, whether that's intensity, whether that's physicality, whether that's communication. We kind of took a dip in those things in those last two games. But like I said, we try not to look too much to the past and thinking that that's the kind of team we are, but at the same time, you do have to address those things and figure out how to make sure that doesn't happen. I think we did a really good job of that in practice today.
You mentioned health. You obviously got Franz back on that trip. So there's obviously still a little bit of working Mo when Jalen comes back, working him back into the fold. But how much of a lift did Franz's return give to you guys, and how can you help him kind of find his footing again?
Franz is one of those guys. His IQ for the game is so high, and he just makes it easier for everyone around him. So even with him not even being at 100% in Germany, he just makes the right plays night in and night out. So. He's one of those guys, once he is at 100%, it'll just help this team be even better on both ends of the court. And then, a guy like Jalen Suggs, who, in my opinion, is one of the engines of this team, helps this team go. Adding him, Mo also coming back, I think that's – sorry about that. He's definitely going to just help the trajectory of this team. So, like I was saying before, we peak at the right time.
Every year before the All-Star game approaches, we hear this team is here, this team is here. Yeah. Is there a conscious effort talk in the locker room that, hey, as the All-Star game approaches, let's try and get to here? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's something I've noticed now, playing for this team and us being now a consistent playoff team. We understand that, around this time is when you like to, peak, be at your best. I think I said this in one of my old interviews. A lot of teams like to start taking off around this time, so this is a time where we can kind of just turn it up, try to get us some more wins and move up in the standings. So I think that's very important. It's definitely something that's on our mind for sure.
Thanks, Del.